to Stories for Shabbos. We have an awesome story this week. This is about a lady. I don't know her name, but I read this story that she wrote about herself. I'll tell you a little bit about her, then I'll tell you the story, and then at the end I'll tell you a little bit more about her. She did not have a lot of money. Her husband, unfortunately, had a gambling problem. That means he would take the money that they made at work and he would gamble. He would make bets with the money, which is a very bad thing to do. And the Torah actually says you're not supposed to do it. It means that he would bet money, hoping that he would get more money back, but what usually ends up happening is people lose all their money. So they had basically no money left. Her husband wasn't working, she wasn't working, and it was hard for them even to buy food. Here's the story. It was Erev Shabbos, and she went to the supermarket to buy food for Shabbos. Now luckily this week she had a coupon, or she had what's called a food stamp. It's that the government gives money to some people who need a little extra help. So she didn't have her own money to buy the food, but she had a food stamp that would pay for the groceries that she needed. And she actually loaded up her shopping cart with lots and lots of groceries because she had a food stamp that would cover a lot of money. And she needed to bring food home because she had kids and a husband and for herself. So her shopping cart was full and she pushed it up to the register. It was finally her turn in line. The person at the supermarket rang up all the food and said, your total is whatever, $223, I don't know. And she gave her food stamp to the person, and they scanned the food stamp, and it said, no money left. And she didn't know what to do, because she had a shopping cart full of food, and a home that was empty of any food. Her food stamp had no money left. She didn't really have any of her own money, and she was stuck. So a nice lady who saw what was happening behind tapped her on the back and said, I noticed that you didn't have any more money on your food stamp. I can lend you the money. Now lending is when you give somebody money but you expect that they'll pay you back. And this lady didn't know what to do because she didn't know if or when she'd ever be able to pay her back. But she was too embarrassed to say, I don't have any money, I won't be able to pay you back. So she just said, sure, thank you. And the lady said, here's my credit card, you'll pay me back, no problem. So the person, the register person, the worker, puts the credit card through, gives it back to the lady, and while this other lady is packing up her bags, she realizes, oh, I should get her phone number and her name so that I can make sure to somehow, some way, sometime, pay her back the money. And she turns around to ask her name, and she's gone. And she never saw the lady again. And she realized that this lady wasn't really lending her the money. What was she doing? She was giving her the money. She wanted to do tzedakah, but in such a nice way. She didn't want to make her feel bad. She said, I'm going to lend you the money and you'll pay me back, no problem. But as soon as she gave her credit card and paid, that other lady just ran off. So she didn't know her name. She didn't know her number. She never even found out exactly who she was. And she didn't have to pay back the money. Now, I told you after the story, I'd tell you a little bit more about the lady, because this lady said that she was in a very sad place in her life. Because not only did they not have no money, but she had a difficult childhood, she had a difficult family, she had lost her job, she just wasn't very happy. And her rabbi had invited her for Friday night dinner that week. And she said to her rabbi, no thank you. Because she just wasn't in a good mood, she wasn't happy, she didn't want to be around people, she just said, I'll stay home and sleep. But after this lady gave her that amazing mitzvah of tzedakah, after that lady in the grocery store paid for her groceries, she was so uplifted, she was so happy, she was so touched by that act of chesed that she called her rabbi and said, you know what? If you still have a spot at your Friday night table, we'll come and we'll join you. And then they went there for Shabbos and they sang Zemiros and they had delicious food and they had a great time. And she said that one tiny little act of chesed changed her whole life. She became a happier person. She started going to school more. She became a happier mother. And everything in her life was so much better because of that one lady who she doesn't even know who she was, who didn't even know who she was, who just decided, I see somebody who I think needs a little help, and to do an amazing chesed of tzedakah. And I was thinking of this story this week because, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, it's the month of Elul. And Elul is spelled Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed. And some of the rabbis say that that is an acronym. Those letters stand for Ish L'Re'ehu Umatanos Le'Evyonim. It's from Megillas Esther. Because you know on Purim we have 4 different mitzvos. 2 of those mitzvos are giving shalach manos to each other and giving matanos le'evyonim, which is tzedakah, to people who need a little bit of help. And Elul is a time for that too. Shalach manos, matanos levionim, tzedakah is not just for Purim. It's not just for when it's specifically a mitzvah that the Megillah teaches us, but it's really for always, and it's especially for Elul, when we should be thinking about and looking around for people who need a little help. Because you never know, even just one little act of chesed, one little bit of tzedakah can change someone's whole life, even if you don't know who they even are. Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbos.